you're concerned, it's the start of our day. It's the Friday, our test day for the first round of South Island Historical Formula Forts. Quick tour of the room. There's my helmet, some snacks. The drinks fridge has been properly stocked. And we're here outside. It's been in morning. During our first test session, the wind picked up immediately. And there's been some damage to our tenting situations. And so we're just getting ready for our second test session, which is about 30 minutes. Alright, Ayven, talk me through what we're doing.
So I'm fixing the car because it doesn't handle very nicely. I've taken some of the front bar out, try to get rid of some of that corner exit understeer, and we're going to give it a little bit of rake in the rear as well, try to balance it out a little bit. So hopefully it makes us a little bit faster. Makes you a bit faster.
So of course I know, because of course I do, but what's front bar?
The sway bar, just making it a bit softer.
And then putting rake in the car, what's that?
It's raising up the rear a little bit so the car goes like that instead of being flat, and ideally once you get on the power, squats down and you'll have a nice neutral corner exit.
I said I knew that, but I didn't, I lied. I quickly got the sense that Ayven was getting tired of my shtick, so I left him to it and we got on with the rest of our test session. And we'll pick the story back up on Saturday. Saturday's here, we're at the track. It is slightly wet, it's been raining overnight, so we are the second guys qualifying. Once we get into it, I think we've got the 2K Cup guys going first, and then we're up at about 10 to 10. Slightly packing because I have never driven my car in the wet, but I'm hoping with all the stuff we did to make it more drivable will be fun. The work that Ayven did to help fix the car was to try and dial out a bit of like nasty snap oversteer that came into the car mid-corner, and I'm glad he did, because even after the fixes the car was still pretty easy to lose the rear, get yourself turned around during the quali. Nice bit of flame throwing there from Bella as we try to get it restarted, and we were lucky enough to get going and run away, avoid a 3-place grid penalty for causing a red flag. Riding on board with Ayven, you can see that grip was nowhere to be found anywhere. He has to dodge a little bit of traffic. Everybody was getting turned around and out of sorts on track during quali. Eventually somebody would red flag the session and I got to lead the group away as we got in for the restart. And I swear to you, my main thought as we left the pits was, don't do anything silly, no heroics into turn 1. And as I went to shift down and grab third and turn in for turn 1, I immediately lost the rear. I must have comp locked it, and I had probably the biggest scare I've had in the car so far. Haven't been driving in real life for too long, and it pretty much took the rest of the quali session for me to find my courage as I politely sit there and wait for the traffic to go by before I could go. But they were very tricky conditions out on track for our quali session. You really had to mind your P's and Q's. And here I am going into the same complex, and you can see it's gotten no easier for us at the back of the grid. My mate gets himself turned around and I have to do a little bit of dodging. But we survived quali. I took a minute to regather my senses as we got ready for our first race of the day. On the grid there was another fresh dusting of rain, so we still had pretty changeable conditions, thankfully. Mercifully nowhere near as greasy as the qualifying session. We had a pre-game chat with Dan before the race, and I promised him I'd do no heroics. I just wanted to keep the car tidy, keep my nose clean, and not do anything silly. Very nervous going into the hairpin. I don't really know this grid that well, so I didn't really want to do any huge heroic scenes, but I'm trying to size up the guy in front of me and see when it's on to make a move. You can see it opens up a look here for the carousel. As I squeeze in, I have a little bit of a moment. Would have been very spicy indeed, but as we come around the corner, someone up the road has turned around and called on a safety car, so we got to cool our jets and reset. It gives me time to think about what I want to do. And just for a little bit of a bonus, my mate in front does a little bit of cheeky overtaking under the safety car, and he'll give that position back a little bit later on. But under the restart, I get away well enough, start chasing my old mate into turn one, and you can see that already the track is starting to dry and start to offer a little bit of grip at the top part of the lap. Into the hairpin. A little bit brave for me as I go inside to try and overtake, but I'm able to make it stick and find a little bit of grip and make my way up the order by one. Running down into turn one, you can see Julia start to get away from me a little bit as her car starts to stretch its legs, but I'm able to make up a little bit of ground into the braking zone. Feeling very brave through here, running side by side, backing out at the last second to give her turn 9. But about here I'm starting to think about it and hoping that I can put myself in a position to get a better run the next lap and see if I can't make my way through. Sticking to her as best I can. I get a nice exit out of the sweeper. You can see it's another drag race down the front straight to see if I can't hold on and keep the inside on the run into turn 1. But Julia starts galloping away and I've got to reset up for carousel again. Up. Now, embarrassingly, what's going to happen is he comes across here a hell of a lot of spray hits this camera and my lens, and what I miss are two waving checkered flags on the right hand side, and as I looked up, there were green lights on the gantry, so I still think there's another lap left, but the race is well and truly over, and I embarrassed myself with a bit of a hero lap. You can see everybody here is well and truly in. Hayden, the organizer of the series, is quick to have a laugh at my expense, and I got to feel a little bit sheepish for the rest of my in lap. But as they say, that's rugby league, and we got ourselves home safely. Bit of bad news for Ayven. He backed out, hit a sausage curb, and bent a tie rod in his car, or bent an arm in his car. So Dan and he had to do a little bit of running repairs and sneak in an alignment before the next race, rushing to get her done before the second. And unfortunately for us, we lost the footage from his car, but as we get away for race 2, the last race of the Saturday, you can see just how bad it is off the line. Launching away in first gear, it's a long old run to turn 1, and we get absolutely mugged off the line, car after car passing us on the run into turn 1. And not much Ayven can do to stem the bleeding. And bad goes a little bit worse, I think he's going to miss a gear here. Takes 2 bites of the apple, and that gives away 1 more position. So a little bit of heartbreak into race 2, and a little bit of extra motivation for him as he tries to make up for lost time. And because variety is the spice of life, you can see my start pulling my little heart out. But you can see Bella getting swarmed at all sides. A familiar face gets past me, along with Julia, and I'd eventually settle in behind her on the run into 1, as I myself am a few positions down relative to where I started. Track was pretty much dry for this race, so everybody's pace picked up, and felt like I had to relearn all over again as we negotiate the first lap, and I'm still just trying to keep it calm. And riding back on board with Ayven, you can see he's behind my nemesis from race 1, trying to find his way through. Gets a decent old run to the hairpin, gains a position under braking, runs on the outside of his grey friend here, but will run out of road and run over the curb this time, managing to avoid damaging his car this time around. But it'll be a source of frustration for the man as he tries to pedal his way around and find a way through. And another missed gear for his troubles. Not quite so bad as what I was having up the road. Going into turn 1 and 2, I missed a shift into 4th. Thought that might be the worst of my troubles, but on the run down to the hairpin, a downshift for 3rd, and then as I go for 2nd, I hear some terrible crunchy noises, which would turn out to be the sound of my diff destroying itself. See me trying to work out if I can limp this thing home, pull out of the way of some cars still racing, quick head check to see that it's clear, and I make my way back over because it's pretty clear I'm going no further on this track. So I just pop myself in behind a flag point and chill out to watch the rest of the race. Meanwhile, Ayven's still fighting for his life. You can see him make a similar move around the outside at sweeper. Second time I'm asking, has another look to the outside, launches it on him, and one more time finds himself out of road. Tough old day for Ayven. And that would prove to be the story of his race until the last lap. You can see our grey friend gained a couple of positions, but he runs into trouble on the run into the last turn and will pull up very early. And Ayven will follow through and cross the line with a little bit of heroics. So that'll be a bittersweet finish for Ayven as he crosses the line. Unfortunately for me, the damage to the diff would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's none good.
And poor Dan would be up until about 2 in the morning trying to find a fix for me, but ultimately, sadly, unsuccessful. And that would leave Ayven to be the hero of the story, the protagonist for our Sunday sessions. And that's where we will leave the story. We'll pick up next time with Ayven's last 2 races of the day. Until then, see you later.